Trixie's getting back on our hooves. Chapter 10, Checkmate, Part 3, Nightmares Inn, Part 2 of the reading. The last chapter, here we go! Checker let out a cry of pain, falling backwards to the ground as Trixie's eyes opened.
It's over, Checkmate.
The others all awakened as well, hugging their worried families happily. They then saw Trixie and rushed over to her, giving her a hug as well.
You did it, Trixie.
Twilight cheered, smiling widely.
That was some real good thinking with the rainbow light.
Said Applejack, patting her on the back.
You were awesome, Trix.
Rainbow Dash chimed in.
And you did it wearing this costume. I made you quite stylish.
Rarity said, giving the mare a smile. Piggy was somehow in her cheerleading uniform and doing cheers.
Trixie, Trixie, go, Trixie!
The CMC quickly joined her, though didn't have uniforms.
Yay.
Fluttershy cheered, getting a few chuckles, including from her. Trixie then turned to Helping Hoof, who was standing next to her.
Thank you, Helping Hoof.
She said, giving him a hug.
And Trixie forgives you.
Helping Hoof looked shocked, then gave a smile.
Thank you, Trixie.
Checker snarled, getting to her hooves and trying to power up her horn again. Only for a small explosion of magic to go off in it, causing her to cry out in pain and stagger back, several cracks running through her horn that crackled with magic. She snarled with a wild animal and lowered her horn and charged Trixie. And Helping Hoof head on. Trixie turned, seeing it coming, and she and Helping Hoof vanished in a fireworks explosion. Boom. Checker ran through it and drove her horn deeply into a support beam, causing herself to become stuck. Trixie staggered back, a little drained. She felt tired all over. She collapsed, but found herself supported by some pony. She looked up to find Helena, smiling down at her.
Grandmother?
Asked Trixie, tears welling up in her eyes as she looked at her grandmother. She hugged her grandmother and was hugged back.
Grandmother, what are you doing here? Trixie, I am so glad to see you, but why are you here?
I got your letter, sweetie.
Said Helena, smiling down to her younger unicorn.
And I came to tell you my answer in person. Getting caught up in the fight was just coincidence.
She explained, then looked down at Trixie and kissed her forehead.
And I forgive you. I'll always love my granddaughter.
She answered, giving a smile, and hugged Trixie again.
That's so sweet.
Said Fluttershy, smiling. Even Rainbow Dash seemed to find it touching. Helena then sighed, looking at Checker.
Both of them, even if I can be very disappointed in them.
Shiny armor on the guards helped pull Checker out of the beam.
Checker Monarch, you're under arrest.
He replied, putting cuffs on her front legs. Checker was loaded into a chariot with closed top and a barrier between the driver and the back seat to protect the driver. The mare kept her head lowered, snarling with rage, but generally looked absolutely defeated, totally. Humming Hoof walked up to passenger's side door with cuffs on him as well. Both had small devices on their horns to block magic primarily. In Checker's case, keep her from hurting herself if she tried to use magic again. Trixie looked to Helping Hoof, a conflicted expression on her face.
Helping Hoof, you didn't have to. You helped stop Checker. Trixie is sure the princess would give you a pardon.
Humming Hoof shook his head.
No, I've helped Checker do so many awful things. I need to pay for it as well. I will testify against her, but I deserve to be punished.
No,
said Trixie simply.
you deserve to atone for what you've done. Trixie understands, but atonement and punishment are not the same things. Don't forget that.
Hooves gave a smile.
I'll remember that. Thank you, Trixie. Maybe we can be friends after.
Trixie hugged him.
We are friends.
Hooves gave a smile.
Thank you, Trixie.
He then gasped.
Wait, the chauffeurs, what happened to them? They knew everything Checker was doing and had less compulsion than I did. Don't worry about them.
Yeah, said Helena, trotting up with a smile.
I took care of them. You had to open your big mouth.
Said one of them, and the three now tied up with their own flight harnesses, hanging upside down from a tree as the guards came down to get them.
How was I supposed to know their grandmother was listening?
Exclaimed another one.
You don't mess with someone's grandkids.
Said Helena with a smile, which then faded as she looked at the police chariot. Helena walked over looking at Checker with sad, disappointing eyes.
Checker.
She said with a sigh, the insidious mare merely snarling like an animal.
I love you, Checker. I always will. But this was the choice you made. I tried to help you, but every time someone offered you help, you turned them down. I can't help you anymore. I'm sorry.
She said, and turned away, a tear running down her cheek. Checker snarled.
Love is for the weak.
She stated with a glare.
I don't need it.
Trixie then walked up, giving her sister a glare.
Checker, a part of Trixie wants to say you've done nothing but hurt Trixie since the day she was born. Tried to ruin her friends' lives, and generally were the worst sister ever. You've made your bed now. Lay in it, you monster.
She yelled in a rather dramatic fashion, causing Checker to give a smirk.
But then Trixie would still be a slave to you. So instead, what Trixie is going to say is this. Trixie is done. She's done hating you. She's done letting you control her. She's done. I forgive you, Trixie. And this shall be the last we see of each other.
Checker startled as Trixie walked away, then snarled.
Come back here. You're not supposed to forgive me. You can't be done with me. I need you. I'm the one who controls you. Come back here.
Hooves looked back from the front seats.
Checker, you do realize that you could have just made up a story to cover yourself to the audience, and trapping them in a nightmare just incriminated you completely and revealed how highly illegal dream infiltration spell to the royal guards, correct?
Checker miserably beat her head against the glass, separating her from the front seat. Hooves chuckled. Diamond watched her parents from the dwindling crowd as all this transpired, looking generally scared. She looked up to her father and mother.
Mom? Dad?
She said, getting them to look at her.
Yes, Princess.
Asked her mother, looking down at her lovingly.
I just wanted to say I love you both. Dear Princess Celestia. Okay. I've learned a valuable lesson. One of the most valuable I've ever learned.
Trixie lowered food down to Fluttershy's animals telekinetically. Fluttershy offering help when the unicorn got confused. It was accepted.
It doesn't make you weak to accept help when you need it. In fact, it makes you weaker if you don't.
Trixie carefully sewed patches onto dresses in Rarity's shop. Spike tapped her shoulder and pointed to her mane, which laid on the cloth. Trixie smiled and floated it back behind her head with telekinesis.
If you're not willing to accept help, then when you encounter something that is too much for you to handle on your own, you'll find yourself too weak to handle it. There's no shame in asking your friends to help you.
Trixie accompanied Applejack to Counterlot, standing by her friend, slowly giving her tips on presenting her apples with an air of refinement. Applejack won first, even if halfway through she broke down and gave up on her Manhattan accent entirely. That seemed actually to make her more popular.
And what's more, friends are wonderful things. When you're lost in darkness, a real friend will light the way. Sometimes a friend has to say things that hurt, because they're things you need to hear.
While still in Counterlot, Blueblood approached Applejack, a look of guilt on his face, seeming quite timid in contrast to his normal personality. He offered an apology for how he acted to her at the gala. It wasn't very prince-like of him, but she accepted it.
Friendship is magic. It is the bond that holds ponies together. And all it can do is make you stronger. And it can defrost the cold hearts.
The Diamond Dogs performed community service in Ponyville to make up for helping Checker under threat of whining by Rarity if they refused. Meanwhile, Trixie met Spike's new pet Phoenix, obtained while she and Applejack were in Counterlot in an epic adventure. Trixie was presently being told about Snips and Snell, so they approached her and looked up at her, remorsefully not sure what to say. She looked down at them and smiled, giving them a nod and being hugged.
But only if you let it. No pony can be saved unless they want to be.
Helping Hoof, in a prison wearing appropriate garb, finished writing a letter and sending it to Trixie, then went over to an inmate learning program, his class being theater. Rarity loaded a minecart full of gems with Spike's help, while the Diamond Dogs took another minecart with the exact same amount back down into their caves with a wave.
But I know I wanted to be saved, and I was.
Trixie baked apple pies at Sugar Corner. Pinkie Pie helped her whenever needed.
And I know I wouldn't trade my friends for anything.
Happy Hope stepped off a carriage and was greeted by the whole group, Pinkie Pie having somehow set up a party for him in the minutes it took him to disembark. Trixie trotted up, smiling to him. He smiled back, then turned, causing Trixie to gasp when she saw his flank, seeing a theater cutie mark. She looked up at him in shock, then hugged him, followed by a group hug with the rest.
Trixie is Lulu Moon Midsummer.
6 months later.
Trixie cannot believe they opened a theater in Ponyville. Whoever convinced them of that?
As Trixie, sitting at a table at Sugar Cube Corner with the others, it decked out for a party and celebration, courtesy of Pinkie Pie. Derpy, Dizzy, Pipsqueak, Snips, and Snells, and CMC were all present as well, along with several friends Trixie had made in the intervening time, including a yellow-furred, red-maned Pegasus with a game controller key mark. I wonder what that is. Rarity averted her eyes.
I wouldn't know, darling.
She replied, looking left and right. Helena chuckled, sitting next to her granddaughter.
Well, regardless, I think we can all thank the princesses they did.
Helena didn't live in Ponyville. She merely visited Trixie often. Unsurprisingly, she and Pinkie Pie got along excellently. Trixie nodded.
Yes, very much so.
She replied,
Now Trixie and helping, Trixie means Stage Hoof, have stable jobs she can enjoy.
She continued,
Soon Trixie will be able to afford a house here in Ponyville.
Trixie still lived with Twilight, but a few months ago had brought her own bed so Twilight could have her own back. It certainly made things much more enjoyable. Stagehoof, his new name after Ernie's Cutie Mark lived in a small apartment in Ponyville at present, having been paid by Monarch Inc. not to press charges for Checker's mistreatment of him. Wasn't enough to buy a house, but enough to help him back on his hooves. The party was also to celebrate his new Cutie Mark.
Glad you're finally doing something you love. Both of you.
Said Twilight, smiling.
Me too. My father didn't approve, but I don't care anymore. I'm tired of being his slave or anyone else's.
Stagehope replied, giving a bittersweet look. Trixie nodded and looked serious. She floated up a smoothie.
Trixie would like to propose a toast.
She said, everyone taking glass in whatever manner their race could.
Without you girls, Trixie would still be a homeless mare in the streets of Canterlot, and under the hoof of her psychotic sibling.
The showmare explained, her and Helena both looking a little sad as they thought about Checker. Trixie honestly wants to... Oh, yeah. Sorry. I know.
Trixie wants to say thank you, her friends, her grandmother, for all you've done. A toast to you all.
They toasted glasses and drank. Twilight smiled and looked at Trixie, thinking about all that had happened. How much Trixie had changed through all this. She was now someone they were all proud of, Trixie herself included. She was finally getting back on her hooves. And that's the name of the story! And Twilight was happy to consider her a sister.
Dear Princess Celestia, in the past few months I've learned a valuable lesson. I won't say Trixie was an enemy, but she certainly wasn't a friend. Nor were the Diamond Dogs and Helping Hoof. The Stage Hoof. But eventually, through circumstances, we're now allies. It's amazing how much things have changed between us. The lesson I learned is this. The best way to defeat an enemy is to make them your friend. Your faithful student, Twilight Sparkle.
That end. Cue live music by Metajoker and Fragmented. Thanks to Metajoker and Fragmented for permission to use their song. I finished it!
Well, there's still technically a couple chapters, but they're more advertising for sequels and side stories and that sort of thing. So if you want to do that, if you want to catch that, just
Yeah, I guess we can, since we still have like another hour.
we don't need to do that. I was just going to say they can look it up. I can put the link to the story in the description, and they can go look up the last couple chapters. They're just little extra stories, and you can go look those up if you so desire. And now we can finally move on and do another
I'd like to
fanfic
make a
at some
note.
other point.
If anybody wants to suggest any other stories to read, for now, please keep it at 5,000 words or less.
Seriously.
Yeah, for now, we're not really looking to read any super long stories. So yeah, if you have any suggestions, just leave them in the comments or message crunchymonkeystudios@gmail.com. Either way. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we're not looking into reading another 100,000 word story.
Yes, I assume we're probably going to be doing quite a few smaller fics over the next little bit. Now that we have completed one massive fic, it's like, here, it's done. Yeah.
Now, unless you send in a fanfic that's kind of like the type of fanfic that is a lot of words, 50,000 words, but each chapter is its own individual little story, then I guess that's fine. We could read a couple chapters and then switch to something else.
But for the most part, I think we should stick to smaller fics that we can actually feature more artists, more writers rather.